A new day, a new month, Friday, 1st of August 2025. Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television from the economic hub of Nigeria, Lagos. I am Henry Igwebike, and I have the delectable
Kende Bodri.
How are you, Kende?
I'm very well. Oh, happy new month.
Happy new month to you.
I wish you the same. You look sharp as always.
Well, I can't complain. I can't complain. Tinubu is working.
But your wife is trying more.
All right. It's fine. It's great to have everyone join us today. We are so excited, and I would love to believe you are. Please do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can always find and reach us when you visit us right here on Enterprise Television. You can actually see us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We're very so excited to have with us, joining us via Zoom, Barrister Fred Nzako, a barrister at law, a development economist. Good morning to you, Barrister, and welcome to Enterprise Friday today.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Good to be with you.
Thank you so very much for your time. We truly do appreciate you. Kende, let's kickstart today with the first daily on our desk. I guess let's start with the Punch newspaper. We have a litany of stories to talk about, but let's start with the Punch newspaper. What do we have there?
Okay, on the big story, we have marketers warn against the disruption as Dangote plans direct fuel supply.
All right, and on the top strip of the same newspaper, 2027 defections stir tension as APC ADC lock horns. Okay,
so we also still on this first top strip, we have government FX windfall crashes 73% to 589 billion naira in H1.
And also on the bottom strip here, we have Nigeria needs a new constitution, not amendment. And that's coming from Ezekwesili.
Still on the top strip, we have FEC, FG approves 3.5 trillion naira for roads, airports, and others.
All right, we have lots of other stories, but Barrister, I'd love us to start with marketers warn against disruption as Dangote plans a direct fuel supply. Is this an ambush by marketers?
I think the marketers should take it easy and relax. They don't have any need to panic. After all, they don't manufacture, they don't produce the fuel that they sell. They essentially rely on imported products or on Dangote's refined products. So if the imported ones are not giving them what they expect, they should partner with Dangote. What is important is that Nigerians are served adequately at the right prices, which Dangote is aiming at. So why would the marketers continue to panic when Dangote makes a statement? I do not think that they need to panic. All they need to do is to realign themselves with Dangote and ensure that there is not only fair competition, but there is product availability at the best price possible. And because Nigerians have suffered a lot in the hands of those who import these products. So marketers should really take it easy.
All right, beautiful.
Okay, speaking of suffering, so sir, do you think marketers might adapt to stay relevant? Like how might marketers adapt to stay relevant? I think that's the question in this kind of situation.
There's no way Dangote will cover the entire length and breadth of Nigeria. It is not possible. Nigeria is very vast, right? Very, very vast. 774 local governments occupying 923,000 square kilometers of land. It's a very vast environment with over 220 million people. Dangote cannot serve all. So what the marketers need to do is to realign their priorities and ensure that no space is left unserviced. So there's no need, and for every effort they make, there will be profit in there for them. After all, well, even if they distribute Dangote's products, they distribute at an agreed price which accommodates their own profit under their expenses. But if they now want to be making jumbo profit from Nigeria, that's where they will get it wrong. They will make their profit, but they should not kill the consumer. with their excessive pricing. And that is what Dangote is aiming at. Right pricing of right products to the right people who are the consumer, the final consumers. It's important that that mix is a struck.
But Barrister, aren't you scared of a monopoly? Remember, we're talking about Dangote here. We know what he has done with cement. Currently, cement in Nigeria is sold for upward of 9,000 and 10,000 naira. In Ivory Coast, where he has the same plant, equivalent in Nigeria, cement is sold for 5,000 naira. The same thing for Togo. So don't you think marketers have something to be talking about that is very so important? Dangote is a capitalist. Yes, he will love to control.
Yes, I agree there is need for people to worry about monopoly. But I do not see that monopoly coming from Dangote in terms of energy distribution. Don't forget that NNPC is still holding on to their 4 moribund, never do well refineries. And they are still importing products of all ranges and of all types. So they are matching Dangote in terms of supply. And don't forget that in economics, what determines price is essentially demand and supply factor. So once the supply factor is steady, there is no need for one to panic about issues of pricing. And the Dangote will not be able to occupy that monopolistic position that they are afraid of. And it is a free market, more or less, to the extent that if Dangote tries to stifle competition, those who have the capacity to import, and with that imported product, they, just like any other product that is made in Nigeria, that is competing with those that are produced outside and are imported into Nigeria. And I don't think that the space has been dried up. The space has not been choked or squeezed for those who want to import. So it is still a competitive environment. Yes, we know that Dangote enjoys monopoly, just like every capitalist business person. But it is the duty and responsibility of government agencies to ensure that such monopoly does not sit with the people, especially on issues or as sensitive as energy consumption, because that is the bulwark of our productive sector of the economy. Yes, the experience in cement is a very bad one, but I think there are more to it than meets the eye. It may not be as easy and as straightforward as we may have highlighted it. Many other factors would have come in that have sustained the price at that level. Because Dangote is not the only producer of cement in Nigeria. There are some other producers. Elephant Cement is there, and Ego Cement is there, and many others. Meanwhile, the entry into the market is not closed. It's not foreclosed. Any other business person who is interested in cement production or importing the cement in large chunk and rebagging in Nigeria, as the case may be, they are there to do so in order to ensure that the price is right, at least for the consumers.
Thank you so very much, Barrister. Of course, because if we do some bit of a comparison here, NNPC should be in the league of Aramco. But unfortunately, we have an NNPC that is dwarfed and hasn't functioned the way other competitors and people in their league should be functioning. And that's very so unfortunate. Barrister, I'd love us to talk to the issue of Nigeria and Ghana fracas. We have that federal government holds a talk over anti-Nigeria protest. That coming from Bianca Ojukwu. She visited Ghana to have a talk, a one-on-one meeting, a sit-down with Ghana. Very so unfortunate that the country of less than 35 million are looking into the eye of the giant of Africa and telling them to leave their country. How bad is the situation, Barrister?
Well, it is a signpost of poor diplomatic handling of the issue, exacerbated by the fact that as at now, we do not have an ambassador or a high commissioner of Nigeria in Ghana. Essentially, I listened to one retired international diplomat of Nigerian extraction who lamented the fact that if we had a high commissioner in Ghana, the matter would not have escalated to the level where it is. It would have been nipped in the bud when it started. But when there is no such official, that is why the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs has to go to Ghana. Ordinarily, he's not supposed to go to Ghana. It is the high commissioner that would have come to report to the ministry and to the federal government to what is going on so that a better position could be taken. But I think going forward, now that our Minister of State has gone there, I expect that tensions should be doused, because the Ghanaian government has a duty of protection of all citizens and all foreigners in their environment, in their territory. They have that responsibility to ensure that no single hair of a Nigerian is wasted, and that the properties and life of Nigerians must be protected as a matter of a duty of the federal government of Ghana. So it is important that going forward, we should advise the federal government not to leave such vacuum, because of the fact that when there's such vacuum, anything could happen and then the matter could escalate. And whatever that has caused that tension can be addressed holistically, so that the issues will not repeat themselves. We do not expect to have xenophobia in West Africa. South Africa is noted for that. It will be very shameful if Ghana tries to emulate South Africa instead of emulating West Africa, that is known to have an ECOWAS environment where there's freedom of movement and freedom of residency for all West African, which of course Ghana is a signatory to. So it will amount to breach of the economic community of West African states if Ghana fails in its responsibility to take care of its citizens and its visitors, especially foreigners of West African extraction, particularly Nigeria. We had a sad event in the 80s when we had a Ghana Must Go episode, but that should be consigned to the garbage of history. The idea of Nigeria Must Go, which is a retaliatory action by the Ghanaians, should not be encouraged.
Very, very true. It's actually very surprising, Kennedy, that in Nigeria we have so much problems that we don't even know who the foreigners are. In fact, if you see a Ghanaian, you won't even know he's a Ghanaian. You think he's from Edo State. You know, you see a Cameroonian, you think he's looking like a Kwara man. So we do not discriminate in Nigeria. Even when a barrister, just a couple of months back, when Chinese people rented about the top floor of a building in VI, there were about 300 of them, and they were involved in cyber crime. Yes. Nigerians didn't wake up to say China people must leave the country. It was treated diplomatically. So would we say that Nigeria are more tolerant when it comes to accommodating foreigners in the country?
When they call Nigeria the giant of Africa, it is not for mere mouthing. We are giants in so many respects. One of them is the accommodating nature of Nigerian people. Nigerians are extremely accommodating, even to some extent to the disadvantage of the country, because such accommodation sometimes will relapse into laxity by not even documenting the visitors that we have. Just like you said, many Cameroonians, many Ghanaians, many Togolese, many Beniners, so many people of different countries mingling with Nigerians, oftentimes even Nigerians. Some of them even have Nigerian identity.
Yeah, and, they have NIN, they have our passports.
Many of them, because there is porosity in that regard. Yes, our good nature has been taken too far, to the extent that we don't even know who our children are and who the visitors are, which is a very sour point in our demographic engagement. Because even as we speak, we have failed to even know the population of Nigeria. Everything we are talking about population is an estimate.
Yes.
And we have never had a credible population census since 1960. Every census era had been bedeviled by controversy. And the last census, which was conducted in about 1996 or thereabout, we've never conducted another credible one. Yeah, 1996, right?
No, 2006.
Good, 2006. Thank you for the correction. 2006. Ever since then, census is supposed to be conducted every 10 years. That means we were due for another census conduct in 2016. Today, it is 2025. Next year, we are entering 2026. That is 20 years after the last census. And that is why every time we talk about estimated population of Nigeria, and in that estimate, so many foreigners, so many non-Nigerians are here mingling with Nigerian people, enjoying the benefit of being in Nigeria as the big brother that we are. It is a good one, but that should not be taken for weakness of the country to the extent that other countries will now begin to poke their hands into the eyes of Nigerians in a manner that is being done in Ghana. The Ghanaians must be told the whole truth, that you don't wrestle with a big brother, rather you ride under his protection, because at all times, Ghana will always need Nigeria, both at local and international level.
Very true, Barrister.
Okay.
What other stories do we have from
okay.
the newspaper there?
We have, still on Punch, we have Oyo budget eats 984 billion naira after 299 after 299.8 billion naira supplementary bill.
Yes, and we equally have this story here. Nigeria needs a new constitution, not amendment. Ezekwesili, Barrister, this is your catchment area. I would love you to speak on this. Nigerians have stated, your colleagues actually, lawyers have said that what we need is not a new constitution. That what we need is new leaders who can apply the constitution. That even if we change constitution 1,000 times and we have the same type of leaders in Nigeria, that nothing will change. Do you agree with the submission?
All the submissions are correct in one way or the other, because it depends on the prism through which you look at the submissions. One, those who say that Nigeria need new constitution are premising their submission on the fact that the current constitution has a lot of loopholes that need to be patched and need to be amended. And all the efforts to amend the constitution have avoided all those loopholes. Essentially, the fact of the demand for restructuring that is anchored on true fiscal federalism, every time we talk about it, they tend to shy away from this reality of restructuring. And there are several dimensions of this restructuring that has pushed so many people to say, let us completely discard this current constitution and then make a very brand new constitution for the people of Nigeria. But then, what will be the framework of such constitution? Will it be anchored on a restructured polity, anchored on true fiscal federalism, or will it just be the mere semanticizing of the current constitution by patching up the little cracks here and there that we have seen playing out in our system? Then some other people have argued that it is really not the problem of the constitution, but the problem of the implementation of whatever we have. That our laws are robust enough that if our people are good, if the leadership is good, if the people, the citizenry and the followers really intend to have a good country, that the laws and the constitution that we have are more than enough, more than adequate for us to have a very good country that will be built on equity, justice, and good conscience. And that it is the lack of good conscience, lack of justice, and lack of equity that is affecting and bedeviling Nigeria's developmental march towards where it should be. That if we now have leaders that will redirect the people towards this paradigm of development, that Nigeria will make a very tremendous progress. So when you look at all these arguments, you cannot fault them. So the fact now remains, whether we are making good constitution or we are continuously amending the existing one, how and most importantly do we have leaders that will lead with patriotic zeal, with fear of God, and with welfare and the interests of the people at heart? That is the critical aspect. People like General Obasanjo believe that what we need is a restructuring of the mind. But people like those of us in the movement for Nigeria restructuring, we believe that we need to restructure the structure itself so that the mind can now be restructured along line the physical structure that is on ground, the geopolitical structure that is on ground. That if you try to restructure the mind without a restructured polity, the mind can very easily be polluted, because human mind is very, very pliable and very easily can be amenable to whatever dictates that they see. So let us have a firm structure, geopolitical, geosocial, and geo-economic structure that will be strong enough that by the time you now begin to amend the structure or restructure the mind of Nigerian people through good leadership, then everything will fall in line. So it becomes an unending argument. But what is important is that we must start somewhere and most critically ensure that the leadership process, the selection process of our leadership, call it election, call it whatever, is made more serious and more formidable than what it is today. Because if you get the wrong people, you end up with the wrong answers.
Yes, I think thank you so much. I think I'll go with him because I really add on to a word that he said. He said we need to restructure the structure because we believe that, okay, the whole thing starts from the leaders. If we can restructure the minds of the leaders, you understand, things will be structurable, things will be well structured at the end of the day. So I think that we Nigerians, not just, just we Nigerians, we need to go back to our drawing board of restructuring so that we get things right and, done properly. So thank you so much, Barrister.
Yes. So I would love us to move on to the Daily Trust newspaper, just to take one more story just before we end for this particular segment. Daily Trust newspaper, we have Canada to join the United Kingdom, France to recognize a Palestinian State in September. Barrister, let's crisscross beyond Nigeria because of our brother's keeper. It's very so important that we respect that. So do you believe that that the Palestinian State should be recognized? Remember what's happening in Palestine right now is far worse than what the Jews felt during the Nazi attack in Germany by Adolf Hitler. So do you think it is time right now that we all should step up as our brother's keeper to say enough is enough, and that the Palestinian people should have a state of their own that is not controlled by the Israelis?
You know, the problem in the Middle East has been an age-long, you can now call it a problem that has been so immemorial, coming from the biblical era, and unfortunately still bedeviling the peace of the Middle East even up to today. The state of Israel, ever since it was established in 1948. 1948.
Yes.
Yes, 1948. That the state of Israel was established. That region has never known peace. But what is important is that generation after generation, they have refused to be tolerant and accommodating of one another. And that has always been the preaching of world leaders, that there must be tolerance. The state of Israel has come to be, and cannot. The state of Israel has come to be, and cannot be annihilated.
Yes.
Now the Palestinians are asking that they should also have their homeland. There was a time when the former president of America tried to mediate into that. Then Yasser Arafat, who was the PLO leader, Palestinian Liberation Organization leader, failed to even come for the meeting called by the American government then in order to, under Ronald Reagan, in order for them to fashion a lasting peace and a lasting solution to the challenges of the Middle East. Now, the whole problem has been the issue of territorial acquisition. But it is a game of give and take. Some land needs to be carved out for the Palestinian people, if and only if they will want to maintain peace in that environment. But the challenge is that most of the Arabic countries do not want the state of Israel to be. And of course, Israel has said that they must be. And then the other world powers have said that Israel must be. So what is now important is that if those other Arabic countries can absorb the people of Palestine into their own environment, then there will be a lasting peace.
Wow.
But if they fail to
Barrister,
do so,
are you saying that they should leave their ancestral land? Are you saying they should leave their ancestral land? Because originally that land belongs to the Palestinians. So asking that other Arab countries should absorb them, it means they should leave their ancestral land. Do you believe in that submission?
When you talk about the ancestral land, which land is ancestral? Is it the one that is in Gaza Strip? Is it the one that is under Israeli control? Is it the one that Israel has said it was their heritage from God? So are you going to resolve it? Generation after the on. So that's how the cycle will continue to be until there's a lasting peace. And no human being owns the land in the real sense of it. Every land belongs to God, because we didn't make anyone. We only came, saw, and we'll all leave the land and go sometime. So if they refuse to find peace, then they will continue to be at war and continue to maim, injure, kill themselves until thy kingdom come. So my proposition is that the Arabian countries, they have enough vast land that if they really want peace, they can donate small portions of their land, especially at the borders, to create a new homestead for the Palestinians. But for them to say that Israel must go, where do they want Israel to go to? And for them to go say that Palestinians must occupy their homestead, who is the owner of the land? Yes. And the Israelis will tell you that the land belongs to God, and God gave it to them through their father Abraham. Through their father Abraham.
True,
so it's a very dicey situation and that was what Ronald Reagan wanted to do then. The Arafat bungled the whole effort and the whole process. And today, the fighting goes on, the wars goes on, the wars go on, and then the deaths and the killings continue unabated. So how long are they going to do that? Or do they want to wipe themselves out? Of course, it will be difficult for them to wipe out the Israelis, except they want to commit mass suicide, and then the whole of Middle East will be wiped out. So at the end of the day, when the whole of Middle East is wiped out, who now inherits the land they are laying hold on? It is human greed and human inordinacy and the lack of recognition of the fact that we are all visitors to this world. If they realize that every human being is a visitor to this world, they would make peace among themselves.
Very true, Barrister. I think we'll have to just leave it at this particular point, because what the world needs at this point is peace. Because when one part of the world is affected, it crisscrosses to other parts of the world. Remember when there was issue between Israel and Iran, we weren't connected, but we felt the effect. Pump prices went high. They used to sell fuel for 8 something. It went back to 900 and something. So that's why it's very important that we preach peace, not just amongst us, but far away from us, because when there's peace in other parts of the world, it comes back to us very so important.
There's love, yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, very true, Barrister. And just to let you know that Barrister Fred will still be here to take us on our main conversation. That is when we return. Government moves to regulate unions amid health workers a strike. That in a bit. It's still Enterprise Friday. Please don't go anywhere. for being back. And if you just joined us, this is still Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. The federal government has approved the National Industrial Relations Policy NIRP 2025 to better regulate trade unions and address recurring strikes. Announced after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Bola Tinubu, the policy aims to promote social dialogue, streamline industrial relations, and align Nigeria's labor practices with global standards.
The government also withdrew a controversial circular that triggered the ongoing strike by nurses and midwives and confirmed it in talks with Health Workers Union to resolve lingering issues. Amidst the strike by the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, which has now entered its third day, union leaders insist the action will not be suspended without tangible commitment from the government.
The demand a signed agreement addressing key welfare and administrative concerns. The government has promised continued engagement, but recent talks have ended inconclusive, with unions stressing that mere promises won't halt the strike.
Meanwhile, both the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress have accused the government of interfering in trade union affairs, warning against any attempt to divide organized labor. Now, labor leaders condemned the involvement of security agency in internal union disputes and urged the government to respect international labor standards.
Very true. Now let's get talking. We still have Barrister Fred and Zako. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for hanging on.
Thank you,
Truly do appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. So, Barrister, I would love us to speak to this matter. You're a barrister. You understand this better. A situation where the government loves to hijack an independent, autonomous union for their selfish interest, because that is what it's looking like now. They don't want unionists to campaign and protest for what belongs to them, because they feel it would, in one way or another, affect the running of the government. Do you think it's a fair deal by the administration of President Bola Tinubu?
I think, generally speaking, under international law convention and international best practices under the International Labour Organization, it is wrong for any government to try to gag labor unionism. Very, very wrong. As a matter of fact, it is even against the provisions of the Constitution, because the Constitution has provided freedom of association and the freedom to give your services and to withdraw your services. You have that freedom. The same way the government has the freedom to employ and freedom to disengage. The laborer or the worker or the servant of the government also has that freedom to withhold his or her services and to also take steps that are legitimate towards enhancing his or her welfare. Oftentimes, what has caused breach of relationship between the worker, the employer, and the employee has been issues about welfare. Welfare is all-encompassing: the salary, the wages, the pension, the workplace environment, and all things that have to do with the welfare of the worker. And whenever the employer falls short of providing what is expected, either by way of what was agreed or what was expected, then the employee has the right to raise his voice and say, and remind the employer that is a backsliding. And if the employer fails or refuses or neglects to heed the voice of concern of the employee has the inalienable right to withdraw his services. And that's exactly what you now see when there are strike actions. In this particular case, when what has made government to begin to think of national industrial relations policy, for how long will government continue to tinker with policies that will aim at gagging workers? instead of government looking towards improving the welfare of the workers and living up to expectations of their employees. Because if you do what is right, your employee will not complain. Rather, the employee will be a satisfied employee who will continue to give out the very best of his or her professional training and career towards enhancing the service delivery in the entire country. So it behoves on the government to ensure that her workers are happy, her workers are productive, and her workers enjoy the benefit of their services. Failure to do so, there will be fracas, there will be industrial action. Now, when there are even warnings given by the employee, unfortunately, the government officials don't live up to the expectations of their officers. For example, when there's a warning strike, they will wait until the full strike is embarked upon. When there is an ultimatum given to government, 21-day ultimatum, 1 month ultimatum, 2 weeks ultimatum, 7 days ultimatum, as the case may be, the government officials, especially those who are supposed to manage the labor relations of government, would wait and pretend as if nothing is going on. That means ignoring the ultimatum given by the employees. And then why do you now blame the employees when they now embark on a warning strike? National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives had given 21-day ultimatum, and the ultimatum was neglected. Government didn't even call them for a meeting. Government neglected them as if they don't matter. Now they had gone on 1 week warning strike. 2-3 days after that, the whole country's health sector is collapsing. So by the time we last the whole 1 week, you can imagine what will be of the health of the people. And if the government does not do what is expected to do and what is supposed to do, you can imagine if this strike is extended. There are over between 25 and 30,000 workers in that under that umbrella of National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives. And they are the bulwark of the Nigerian health sector. So why would a responsible government, responsible in quotes, why would a government sit idly by and allow these people to go on strike, even after they had given long period of notice? And why would government wait until they go on this warning strike before they are called to a table for discussion? I think the whole thing smacks of lack of responsibility, to say the least, on the part of the government that is supposed to be at the forefront of championing the issues about welfare of the citizenry.
Well said, sir. So what, let me just throw this question to you, Barrister. So what does a tangible commitment just from the government look like in the context of this strike? You know, when we were talking about the story, there was this word tangible commitment. So what does a tangible commitment from the government look like in the context of the strike?
The tangible commitment should start by first listening to the complaints of the workers. That is number one step.
All right.
Because if take for example your child at home is complaining and you ignore him or her, the next thing is that the child begins to misbehave. If at that point the child begins to misbehave, for you it's a misbehavior, but to the child, he's trying to assert his right to certain actions. So the child expects you to do certain things towards the complaint that the child has. And if you intentionally, willfully neglect or fail to heed to that child's complaint, then the child will have no other option than to take certain action.
Yes.
Now, suppose it where the workers as a union, they have had their complaint, and they bring the complaint to the federal government that is.
Are you there?
Like their father, their employer, happens at the federal level, also happens at the state level. And if the government refuses, fails or neglects to heed to their complaint, then the next thing will be they will give a warning strike, so that the government will be forced to listen to them. And that is exactly what is going on. So the first step is listen to their complaint, call them to a meeting, hear them out, look at the issues holistically,
Yes.
bring the statistics to the table, and the ones that you can implement, you start implementing. We are all human beings, and the very moment they see you take positive steps towards addressing their complaints, the strike will not come. But when you ignore them and pretend as if they are just backing, we had once had a minister of labor in this country that described the civil service agitation as just backing. And then the people went on strike, and the strike lasted for a very long time. At the end of the day, the economy, the country bore the brunt of such strike. So any responsible officer of government should not wait until it gets to that level before they act. The very moment the ultimatum is given, after all, what is the duty of the minister, for example? Or what is the duty of the commissioner that is in charge? What is the duty of the ministry, the generality of the ministry? If the minister doesn't have the chance, what of the permanent secretary? What of the directors of the ministry? Call them for a meeting. Start looking at their issue, and then confront them with statistics, so that with the statistics they will see whether what they are asking for is inordinate or whether it is reasonable. If it is reasonable demand, then you try to meet it up. If it is not reasonable demand, then you explain to them why their demand cannot be met, and they will understand and adjust their demand. At a point, there will be a meeting point. While all that is going on, strike will be kept at bay. There will be no strike until you get to a particular point. And most importantly, whatever you agree with your workers, try to implement that. Government is fond of agreement without implementation. They will agree with you. They will shift the goalpost, hoping that the matter will descend on maybe another regime, trying to shift the burden of responsibility and the burden of action. And over time, and that is why in some trade unions, you will see an agreement of 2009 with government. 16 years down the line, it is still not implemented. You now begin to wonder, why would the government take a decision, make a firm promise, put it down in writing, sign and execute it, and renege in its implementation? It all smacks of irresponsibility. Nothing short of that. So we want to urge both the government, the employers, and the employees to always live up to their expectations and the responsibilities of their offices. That is the basic minimum that any Nigerian can expect from the government. Very true, Barrister.
It's so sad what we feel and what we see right now in Nigeria. You talked about a current government and extending what they should do, or prolonging the evil days and giving it to the next transition to take care of, rather than them do the action themselves. And now this is how bad the situation is, Barrister. In 2024, 16,000 healthcare workers in Nigeria, including nurses, left for Nigeria to the UK, just UK alone. We've not calculated for Canada, we've not calculated for the United States and other nations around the world. Just the UK alone, 16,000 healthcare workers left the country. Large brain drain out of Nigeria. And while we internalize some of these things, our past president died in London clinic in the UK. Yeah. 30,000 pounds, 3,000 pounds rather, was paid every day for his upkeep in London. And while our nurses and healthcare workers are deprived of what is what they deserve. Now the question is, do you think our leaders are even intentional about having our healthcare workers taken care of, or they're just playing lip service, not just extending it to the next government to take care of?
If they are really intentional about it, you will see solutions on ground. You will see real action being taken. You will see efforts being made, and everybody will applaud it, and you will see results. But they are not intentional about it. And that is because those who are in authority and those who have the means to run away from the country to other countries to go and seek what you can call proper medical attention. They are more interested in amassing that wealth with which to take care of themselves outside Nigeria than to building the infrastructure that will support the health sector adequately. And you know, the irony of it is that when they run out to these foreign countries, they are treated by Nigeria in their different countries. There's this satire that went round after the death of Muhammad Buhari in the social media about a government official that ran away to a foreign land and only to go and meet a doctor that he failed to pay his salary while the doctor was practicing in Nigeria. And the doctor now told him that he even asked the Indian nurse to report the doctor to the head of the hospital, without knowing that the doctor, a Nigerian doctor, was actually the head of the hospital. And he asked the nurse to report the doctor so that the doctor would be sacked. Yes, it was a satire, a comic satire, but it's a reflection of the reality of Nigeria. It was so shameful that our former president had to die in a London hospital. And our former head of state, Abu Salam Abubakar, also ascertained that he was sharing the same hospital with Muhammad Buhari, receiving treatment at his own corner. And then there could be others who were equally at the other corners of the same hospital receiving treatment. And that would not tell you that time and time again, the leaders would, instead of building the facilities in Nigeria to take care of everybody, will prefer to steal the money, take care of themselves, their families, and their loved ones at the expense and detriment of the rest of the Nigerian people. It is a very terrible reality, and that must stop. I recall sometime when Senator Godswill Akpabio, he had a small bruise in his foot while he was governor of Akwa Ibom State. He ran away to Germany to go and treat a small bruise that even a medical student in College of Medicine could handle. So that tells you that not only are they not making efforts to build the facilities here in Nigeria, they also don't have confidence in the little ones that we have. So if that becomes the reality, how do you expect a robust healthcare sector that will take care of everybody, both big and small? St. Mary's Hospital in Paddington is where Queen Elizabeth was treated. It is a hospital that takes care of Queen Elizabeth when she was alive. It is the same hospital that the commoner in Britain could go and receive treatment because it's a federal government facility. It is that same hospital that even visitor to England could go and receive equal amount of treatment, and that is what makes a country tick. But when there is this unnecessary segregation and the wide gulf between the rich and the poor, whereby the rich could access certain medical facilities that the poor cannot access, because our NHIS is inefficient, the medical facilities are so expensive and unavailable to the poor, it now creates such burden of segregation and of injustice, meted poor and the lower rung of the ladder in the country. Meanwhile, when you come to labor output, the people at the lower rung of the ladder also contribute to the productivity of the country. A country's population should not be a burden, it should be a blessing. And we cannot complain about our population, rather we should sustain it and make it more productive such that Nigeria will become what we expect it to be. We are not the biggest country in the world. China, the largest country of 1.8 billion people, are taking good care of themselves. How can we, of just mere 20 million, be complaining of lack of infrastructure? It is simply because the money meant for the development of our country is essentially 70% stolen. Stolen, stashed away in foreign lands at the detriment of Nigeria.
It's actually very bad, Barrister. And I think I'd love to use this opportunity to say congratulations to Senator Natasha Udoh. She donated MRI to Kogi State Teaching Hospital, the only MRI scan in that hospital, in that state. We have a governor that had been there before, And the current governor, who is there, Yahaya Bello, started transferred it to Udoh. And none of them was thought it wise to provide an MRI to the teaching hospital there. But Senator Natasha, who is still on suspension, was the one that did that. And Barrister, I'd love you to speak to the issue of we as citizens and as followers contributing to the menace that we have. Femi Adesina, the former aide and media person to Muhammad Buhari, said on national television, and I was asking myself, was he listening to himself when he said that Muhammad Buhari would have been long dead if he had used our hospital here? And the question is, I ask, was he really thinking?
Was he even seeing the future? Was
he really thinking when he was saying all of those things and the effect of some of the things he was saying?
Let me quickly make a brief comment on issue of the donation by Senator Natasha Udoh. A very good one. Kudos to her. More grease to her elbows. It is a case of prioritizing, proper prioritization of expenditure. More than the amount, whatever amount that she has spent to provide that MRI facility, which is said to be the first and the only one in the whole of Kogi State. You can imagine that. The same, more than that amount was utilized by former Governor Yahaya Bello to buy a bulletproof SUV and displayed it on the street of Kogi State, an SUV that was said to have cost a whopping 1.3 billion naira. One car. Yahaya Bello drove into Kogi State, drove around Lokoja in a car that cost him 1.3 billion. And the people were clapping. The people were clapping. That is where I want to agree with you that we as citizens, we need to really ask ourselves some very critical questions. Do we support perfidy or do we support what is right? What do we support? Who do we clap for? Do we clap for inanity or do we applaud what is right? Why would this fellow be one single car when the state that he governed for 8 years does not have a functional magnetic resonance image facility, MRI machine, to take care of the health of the populace? So, and we use that as an example because similar thing happens all around the country. And that is why Femi Adesina could carelessly, I use the word carelessly, make such statement. He may not be careless in his mind. He may be stating the obvious because he knows that the government has paid little attention to the healthcare sector. Remember that President Buhari's wife once lamented that despite the whopping 4 billion naira budgetary allocation to Aso Rock Clinic, that the clinic had no Panadol, had no paracetamol. She said so, had no syringes. She said so. And she lamented that the level of corruption was mind-boggling, unimaginable. That between 3 and 5 billion naira will be budgeted for Aso Rock Clinic every year. Yet, that clinic cannot boast of anything that one can confidently rely on when one has need for that clinic. Don't forget that Aso Rock Clinic is not open to the rest of Nigerians.
Yeah.
It is essentially meant to take care of the people in Aso Rock.
Yeah.
The president and his family, the vice president and his family, and some other opportune people who reside in the presidency. Because you cannot just move from Gariki and say you are going to Aso Rock Clinic. It is not open to the public.
Yeah.
Now, you go to the National Hospital, the one that is supposed to be the flagship of health sector in Nigeria, being the National Hospital, in name and in nomenclature. What do you have there? Remember recently that there was a video that went viral when one man took some accident victims to National Hospital in Abuja, and even the nurses and other health facilities in the place abandon the victim in the car. They did not even have a trolley to go and wheel the victim into the emergency, accident and emergency room. Until the man started making video, and started shouting, and started harassing the workers. Meanwhile, the workers themselves told the man that they couldn't kill themselves because they didn't have the facilities to work with. So it is so bad that even when the workers don't have the facilities to work with, do you expect them to perform magic? They cannot perform magic. It is, again, the duty and responsibility of government to provide those facilities. So you now ask yourself, what is Nigerian government at all levels? What is their own duty to the people of Nigeria? Federal, state, and local. Is it just to sign budgets, appropriate finance, steal money, and then compete among themselves in affluence and in ostentatious and irresponsible living? Is that what the government is all about? What is the duty of government? What is the responsibility of government to the people? When we review our government with other governments around the world, can we say our government is doing well? Why are people of Nigeria running away to other lands? Because their own environment has become so scorchy, not by nature, but by man-made annihilation of comfort, by man-made intentions, intentionally making life very difficult for Nigerian people and making living almost impossible. It is very obvious that every human being will have need for health facility. Whether you are big or small, it is nature has made it so. We are not stones. Even trees need nurturing, not to talk of human beings. So why wouldn't we as a people, led by government, make sure that our healthcare sector is good for everybody? If we don't kill corruption, corruption will continue to kill Nigeria and Nigerians in several ways, one of which is through the health sector.
Very, very true, Barrister. It's very so sad that we're having this situation, and at the same time we have great doctors who started off from Nigeria here, and they are in different parts of the world and doing great things. And I think I would love to use this opportunity to read some of them out and let our leaders know how bad they have messed the situation up. We have Dr. Professor Iyala Peterside, a professor of pediatrics at the University of Pennsylvania and a consultant at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. He is recognized as one of America's best physicians. He started off here in Nigeria, ended up in Pennsylvania, and today he is recognized as one of the best physicians in the United States of America. We have Professor Onyema Ugwagu, an associate professor of medicine at Yale School of Medicine, known for his work on the Pfizer and COVID-19 vaccine. Without this professor, the COVID-19 vaccine we have from Pfizer would not have been possible. He started from here in Nigeria, but ended up in the United States of America. We have Dr. Timileyin Oluseyi, achieved historic feat by winning all 8 top awards in his U.S. medical residency program, making him the first black doctor to do so in the United States of America. Amazing. He started off here, and today he is in the United States. Barrister, you can see how we lose some of our best to good nations around the world. Very sad, Barrister, and lamentable. Don't you think so?
Absolutely very sad. And of course, you know that the nature of migration of labor is such that labor is international. And labor is always seeking out for a healthy environment. And when one has something to offer to humanity, he is looking for the very best environment with which to do so. Nigeria has failed to provide such environment. And that is why the very best of us are living in droves to countries and environments that further support their dreams, their careers, and what they have to offer to humanity. You have only mentioned a very few of them. The statistics have shown that the Nigerians form the largest block of medical doctors in America, apart from the citizens of the country in America, in UK, and in Germany, and even in Saudi Arabia. And that is how you see Nigerian medical personnel, doctors, physiotherapists, pharmacists, nurses, scattered all over the world, doing marvelously well, winning laurels, taking care of the people. Meanwhile, you come back to Nigeria, it is a sorry situation and a very terrible decadence that we see in the health sector. And of course, it should worry everybody. Dr. Chris Ngige, former Minister for Labor, had once, who himself is an astute medical doctor, had once said that we didn't have problem of scarcity of doctors. And Nigerians shouted. Could you make this statement because you just want to be politically correct when the realities are saying otherwise? The same way Femi Adesina made some statement about Buhari, not that Buhari would have died a long time ago if he relied on Nigerian medics or Nigerian medical facilities in the country. Of course, he may be partly correct, but essentially wrong. Partly correct in the sense that they know that their facilities here are left to die off in decay. But essentially wrong because they are the ones who caused the problem and they have the solution in their tips, but they fail to do what is right. And at the end of the day, what benefit does it offer to a country when the best of that country is leaving that nation to other foreign lands? The country will now become a mere cemetery. Just like they said that Putin had once described Nigeria and Africa generally as mere cemetery. Because Nigerians, when they want to vacate, when they want to go on vacation, they look for other countries outside. When they want to do their savings, they keep their stolen loot, they look for countries outside. When they want to send their children to good schools, they look for countries outside. But anywhere they are, when they die, they are brought back to Nigeria for burial. Therefore, Nigeria has become a mere burial ground and not an environment of enterprise, an environment of good life, an environment where you can be certain that you will flourish. And that narrative must change because God didn't create Nigeria so. God created Nigeria to be one of the best in the world by giving us massive resources in terms of human and material and mineral resources under the soil. Beautiful weather, massive arable land, and everything that will support a flourishing country. But where do we stand? Bandits, terrorists, kidnappers, brain drain, frustration, despoliation, injustice, and even the least of all that could be taken for granted, election that is massively rigged and Nigerians are being given the short end of the knife. These narratives must change if we want to build a good country for the future.
Thank you so very much, Barrister. You have said it all. And we just have to conclude here and say we pray for Nigeria and we hope that things would get better as time goes on. That's just about the time we have for today. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for being here. We truly do appreciate you.
Thank you, Barrister.
All right, so Barrister Fred Nzako is a development economist, and he was here, and we truly do enjoy everything he has said. And that's just the time we have, like I said, and we have to leave it for now. Please do well to visit us if you may, and reach us. You can always find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I am Kende Boduri.
Thank you for watching. On behalf of the entire team of Enterprise Television, we say thank you and have yourself a splendid day. Stay safe. God bless Nigeria. Bye-bye from us.
Bye.